Good afternoon, everybody. It's January 15, 2025. And talk about censorship. Let's talk about censorship and Gematria and the last video that I uploaded, the testimony of Kay Griggs' ex-military wife, which is unbelievable. But before I get into it, please hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there. Lots of interruptions today, just as I'm focusing on something. I get a prank call. I get 2 prank emails, people that I've never heard of before. It's just really unbelievable, the octopus that is involved in harassing an individual. And the amount of financial support for these programs is off the charts, when there are people like in North Carolina, South Carolina, and California now that don't have their homes anymore. There's no support for them, but there's lots of money to pay these criminals to harass one little old you and one little old me. So let's talk about, I like to give reviews for products and negative reviews because it helps people. So I've been on Amazon for a while, and I generally don't offer reviews unless somebody asks me for one, or unless a product is exceptional or not exceptional, if I have a problem with it. So I ordered organic bananas, like 3 bunches of them. I figured, let me try this for the first time. And the bananas were packaged in paper bags, which were torn open, placed in the box, and delivered to me that way. And it's cold outside, so they should have been fine, right? I will likely post some photos of those bananas in the comments, in the post section of the community page, so that you could see how they were delivered. So I quickly posted a review on Amazon, a negative review. Not only that, because there was no method of contacting the seller, there were no returns, no exchanges, and no communications with the seller. So that's not good all around. So I posted a negative review, and then I received an email from Amazon that they can't post my review unless I change it. I kid you not. And what I did was I uploaded all the photos that I took of the bananas upon arrival, like they had just arrived. And then I posted a negative review. I said, I purchased these organic bananas. I said, I'm a little confused because it says Chiquita on it, and unless Chiquita has an organic farm, how are Chiquita bananas organic? And this is the condition they arrived in, and I won't purchase them from the seller because there are no replacements and no method of contacting the seller, and no refunds. It's that simple. It wasn't this huge review, but the photos spoke 1,000 words, and they won't post my review. So Amazon will not post my negative review of how I received these bananas. Now, I guarantee, I believe there was third-party or second-party interference with the bananas, and you'll see when I post the photos later. So I just wanted to give you a shout out about that, about how the sabotage is so prolific. It's everywhere. You can't even post a negative review anymore. Like, what's the purpose of having a review process if you only accept positive reviews? Makes no sense to me. So now what I gathered from Kay's testimony, from her diary, she kept diaries, was that her former ex-military guy he was an alcoholic. He was a raging alcoholic all the time. She said he was bisexual, and that he hated women, that the military hates women, that they're controlled, they're deceptive, they're order followers, and they have an operation to ruin things and people. That's what they do. That's what I gathered from her interview. I'm only 4 hours into it. And ironically, when I posted the video, and it's still under review from TheyTube about ad suitability. And I'm thinking, I have watched on YouTube hundreds, maybe even thousands of testimonies from, the white underbelly guy, all the targeted people channels, all the other channels out there that some of them are just really off the charts, but they're not being demonetized or removed. Although I did hear of an organic grower, and I'm not subscribed to this channel, but I did watch the video because, I mean, it was blaring in the title. It said, YouTube demonetized my channel, like the whole channel. And he's like an organic farmer, and I don't have the name of it right now. He's an organic farmer who has allegedly been on YouTube for 14 years. And he grows all kinds of things, but he also grows cannabis. So he believes that somebody reported his channel, that somebody reported him. And this is what happens. We're in a snitch society now. If somebody doesn't like something that you say, they'll have their whole gang of gang stalkers write to YouTube. And even though YouTube has no idea what's going on until they actually review it, they side with the person, usually. And that's what happens to a lot of videos. Although there have been so many videos that were not monetized, and I'm going to say now I'm up to about 18 that were not monetized that I resubmitted to YouTube, because I guess back in the day I didn't realize that you could resubmit an appeal. And I just left it the way it was, and every one of them came back okay for advertising. And some of them were just so benign. Like, I couldn't understand why. But I know why. Because as soon as I post my videos, they're immediately downvoted. Like, the 11 p.m. County Road Creeper Stalker video that's only like a minute and a half long. It's downvoted to 69.2%. So if you can watch that and just give it a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. There were 163 views, 6 comments, 9 likes out of those 163 views. And now it's down to 69.2%. So if you could hit the thumbs up on that video, I would very much appreciate it. So, I'm going to back up a little bit here. A few months ago, I had an interview with Onion Head Andrew, and I really appreciate the things that he offers. But my interview with him lasted over 2 hours long, and evidently he was testing out some new method of recording, and just suddenly it wasn't recording, and he had no video of it to share. So I spent all that time preparing beforehand. I live here on a farm. I've got to apply makeup, make myself look somewhat decent. And then spent more than 2 hours recording and chatting and stuff to not have a video, a recording to upload to either one of our channels. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm not going to say. But we're going to back up now. On January 10th, I had an interview with Kimberly Mosley. She's a fairly new on the YouTube and a targeted person. And she just started interviewing people. So I had an interview with her. And she doesn't do a lot of interviews, just a few at a time. So we did an interview. It lasted about an hour and a half. We were chatting before it actually started recording, but it wasn't a Zoom recording. It's a platform that I am totally not familiar with. Evidently, it's something that she pays for. I'm not familiar with it. Couldn't help her with it. Totally confusing to me. I couldn't get a green screen in the back, which if you're paying for a platform, usually that's just automatic, That's just part of the plan. But there was no option for me to create a background or a green screen, which, again, like if you're paying for a platform, that should be automatic. But so there wasn't that ability. And we had to start the recording a couple of times, very much like when I interviewed with Richard Moore. I guess it was either the first or second time where we had to record, I think 4 times. We were interrupted because nobody wants my story out there, but that's okay. I'm going to keep recording. So what was happening was I kept receiving this black screen that was covering her face. So I actually could not see her during the entire time that we were speaking. And I mentioned to her that I have this black screen and it's telling me that it's not recording. And she would say that it looks like it's recording on my end. And this is what happens when if you have to be in control of your platform and know how the technology works. And which is why I don't have my Zoom meeting set up yet, because once I do, I want to understand it inside and out. I want to understand how it's working so I don't waste an interviewer's time, me, and I don't waste my client or interviewee's time. Because you know the way interviews work. You can interview with 10 people and you're not going to say the exact same words to each individual. It depends very often on the kinds of questions that the interviewer, the podcast host, is asking and how you're going to respond to those questions. If they provide the questions beforehand, how you're going to respond to those questions. And not every interviewer, podcast host, or hostess interviews the same way or asks the same questions. Which is wonderful, because that's the way you get different kinds of information out there to the public. So Kimberly had different questions that she posed towards me and then also sent them to me prior, so I had some responses for her. And as you all know, that when I uploaded the video, it was instantaneous. I sent it to my members only. I wanted them to see it first. 2 people. And it was immediately removed for medical misinformation, which is total bullcrap. There wasn't anything remotely discussed at all about medical anything. Zero. What they didn't want out there was the fact that I described my personal experience, and again, this is for educational purposes only, from my personal experience, what I viewed, what I witnessed firsthand, was a hole burned in my cat's face. Chiclet subsequently died. Young cat. What was he, 8 years old? Perfectly healthy. And then my other cat that was on the property when I moved here, Cheeks. He just suddenly disappeared Memorial Day weekend. Ironically, after my neighbor sent me a photo of him. Yeah, she just happened to have him on her camera and sent me a photo of him. And I never saw him again. Is that ironic? But he too had the same hole burnt in his side, and a neighbor's dog that actually, my neighbor, Jezzy with the blue lights on, was actually caring for this dog. She felt bad for the dog because its owner had passed away. The dog was wandering around the county road. She was caring for him. And I saw the hole in the side of the dog. That's 3. Then there was my rooster, Bandit. Yeah, my big, white, fluffy, beautiful, healthy male rooster that I had. It was my first rooster ever. When I posted a photo of him online in relationship to Chiclet, guess what happened? Guess. Bandit disappeared. He was stolen. They're trying to steal the evidence. Okay? But meanwhile, I had a deputy here who actually witnessed the hole in Chiclet's face and the hole in the rooster. That's right. So now I received an email today that Kimberly says for some reason there's no video. It didn't record or something. And I responded, I said, I was telling you during the entire interview that I had this black square. It was like a square with a little note for me. She didn't see it. I saw it on my end. She could hear me fine. So it wasn't that she couldn't hear me. It's that for some reason it didn't record on her end. So actually, as soon as I saw that screen, I said, you know what? Just, for bookkeepings here. I'll just record it also. So I recorded it on my phone. It's like an hour and 20 minutes long. And that is what TheTube removed. It wasn't even a full interview. They don't want my story out there. Because what is happening to me is totally off the charts. The whole method here is to discredit what's happening to me. But I promise it's going to get out. Everybody's going to know. And I will be sharing all my photos, all my videos with people who are in a position to not ignore it. And the only reason it hasn't been done yet is because of this ridiculous weather we've been having. Everything takes me so much longer. Next on the list there is I have been following, since I moved here, maybe even before, but I'm just going to say since I'm living here, a YouTube creator who lives in New York City, a firefighter. His name is, the YouTube channel is The Angry Prepper. Now, this was deeply disturbing to me. He posted a video, and it was something to the about my son. That was the heading. I never really heard him talk about his son before. And I start looking at it, and it's like it's like a memorial. I didn't know what had happened to his son. I didn't know. So I'm watching it. I see these cute little pictures of him as a baby, as a little boy and growing up. And it's like, oh, he looks like such a nice young man. And then you could see him as an adult at 26 years old. And then I realized at the end that it was a memorial, that he was gone. So I had to back up in his videos, and he had got a couple of channels, and he was thanking another YouTube creator. And then I saw that at the end of the video, he had his son's date of birth. And for all you numerology people, my excellent Gematria girl out there, I will post the word Gematria in the heading so that you might have a look at this. His son was 26 years old and 2 months. He was born October 28, 1998. Numerologically, the life path is 11, which is a master number, or reduced to the number 2 would be, so he would be 11. He passed away December 29, 2024, reduced to 13, 4. That's just numerology. That's not Gematria. So I pulled up a Gematria calculator, and son is 180, death is 118, and angry prepper is 878. So what I heard was that his son lived alone in South Carolina. And evidently there was something going on that really wasn't discussed much, other than the angry prepper said, just make sure you always check in with your kids. He doesn't know what happens, but he started blaming himself. And then it occurred to me that I've said this on my channel before, that I watch a lot of other channels that I know they're targeted. I can tell by stuff that goes on in the background and things that they talk about that suddenly go wrong and other things. And I felt that this guy was targeted, not his son. I didn't even know anything about his family. I didn't know how many kids he had. I didn't know anything. But I felt that he was targeted because I started hearing like foghorns in the background and sirens and stuff when he was recording. But, he's in New York City, so what the hell, New York City is loud and noisy. It's not unusual to hear sirens, but it is quite unusual to hear foghorns. In fact, when I became targeted in New Jersey, I started to hear foghorns. I took note of it because, Red Bank wasn't that far away. In Red Bank, they did have boats there, river and stuff, and boat docks, very wealthy yachts and stuff there. But I thought it was really odd to hear foghorns. But I was hearing them. I didn't understand why. I didn't make note of it until later, when I've heard it on other people's channels, like the Angry Prepper, that maybe he's targeted. And why would he be targeted, right? He's a regular guy. He speaks out a lot. He's very, he's very verbal. Like, I'd always wondered why, how he can get away with cursing so much on his channel. But I remember watching him when he went to that January 6th thing, and he was videotaping things and showing it live stream so that we could all see what was going on there, which was, at the time, nothing. Nothing was going on there. It was just like a pretty landscape. But after that, there were a lot of people that became targeted. Now, I'm not saying that he is or he isn't. It's just that I have a very different perspective. It's sort of like once you see something, you can't unsee it. And I'm seeing that there are a lot of people targeted, have no idea that they are. So anyway, his son, who looked like a really, intelligent, put together guy, he was in decent shape and stuff. He lived alone. But, he took his life. It didn't really make much sense to me. It really affected me. Actually, I started crying. I started crying for him. And crying for this 26-year-old man. Like, what happened? Was he a victim of gang stalking? Was he a victim of V2K? Was it something that he could not share with his father? Or maybe he did. And nobody believed him. So anyway, so he passed away December 29, 2024. But the police didn't find him for 2 days. I don't know where they found him. I don't know all the details. I mean, unless he comes out with it. But I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. That is not only us. There are so many people out there that don't know they're targeted. And this is why we do what we do. We post this information. And no, you controlling freaks out there, I'm not going to shut up. And I'm going to keep interviewing over and over again until everybody hears my story. And you can bribe and coerce and blackmail all the people out there. You're going to end up screwing your own self. So anyway, for my Gematria girl out there, if you have any insights on this, I don't know his son's name. All I know that he was in South Carolina. He lived in South Carolina alone. His birthday is October 28, 1998. And his day of passing is 12 December 29, 2024. He was 26 years old. I also heard that there's such a thing called a Snitch app. It's called a Snitch app. It's called the Citizens app. How do I know? Angry Prepper mentioned it on his channel recently. That he had to check the Snitch app called Citizens app. He had to check the Snitch app to find out something. I don't remember what it was. If any of you are familiar with the Citizen Snitch app, let me know. Maybe you just have to be a firefighter to have access to it. I don't know. I don't know. but I'm just putting it out there that, yes, so that's 2 interviews so far I had with 2 separate people who suddenly the interview, the recording just malfunctioned. So you have to wonder, is it third-party interference? Is it done on the individual side? Are they being coerced, blackmailed? I look forward to your questions and comments down below. And I'm going to sign off for now.